So who remembers the Simpsons episode where Homer says that Bloody Harry, he brought back beheading in a big way? So I went to Google and searched it. This is my fifth time trying to screen record this while talking. And last time I searched it in Google, this website did not come up. So it's Wiki Quotes, The Simpsons Season 23, and we're going to go down to what's it called? Holidays of Future Past. Holidays of Future Past. And I'm just going to read a couple of other quotes as well, but that I thought was kind of interesting. So, let's see. We're talking about Milhouse, and Lisa's having a conversation right here where he's wanting to, he says, "Why don't you take Zia to your parents for Christmas while I nurse my allergies in one of the non-Christmas celebrating states?" Lisa says, "You can go back to Michigan. It's still under Sharia law." Milhouse, "Yeah, but they always make me wear a veil." Because Milhouse is kind of feminine looking. So this must be like post-apocalypse or post-apocalyptic or post, the reign of the AC. So I think in this episode, Lisa's actually the president. But right here, it says, Lisa, "My daughter thinks I'm a ruthless tyrant like Hitler or Prince Harry." Homer chuckles, "Bloody Harry, he brought back beheading in a big way." And there was one other one I thought was kind of funny. Lisa, Google, even though you've enslaved half the world, you're still a damn fine search engine. So they just like putting the stuff out there in these things. But do y'all remember this episode? Or do y'all remember people talking about it? Because I think there was another episode where Bart actually said something about Bloody Harry.
What's up, YouTube? It's Biblical Truther. What you guys think about that from The Simpsons? I think Logic Before Authority is the one who did a video probably a year, maybe 2 years ago, about Prince Harry and Prince William fighting for the throne, and he correlated it to, it's been a while since I've seen that video, well, a year and a half, 2 years, however long it's been, but he was talking about the Hopi prophecies that talks about the two brothers that'll, basically go to battle for rulership. And I thought it was pretty profound, being that, it's the red star Kachina, the blue star Kachina, I think is what the Hopi prophecies is talking about. I didn't refresh my memory before I started making this video, but it is what it is. But we have a red-headed Harry, and we have a blue blood, they're both considered blue bloods, and Prince William. But yesterday, the Queen died. Of course, everybody's pretty much aware of that now. But my wife had sent me this.
On Wikipedia, Operation London Bridge. As you can see right here, at the very top, this little box out area, says this article may be affected by a current event. Information in this article may change rapidly as the event progresses. Initial news reports may be unreliable. The last updates to this article. Let's see, the last updates to this article may not reflect the most current information. Well, let's see, let's go back. This is actually just outlining what all the territories of Great Britain that's under the crown are going to do for the next 2 weeks, basically, while she's being buried. But she sent me this before it was announced publicly that Queen Elizabeth had died. And on the page, when she sent it to me, this was on there as in that little boxed out area. It says, "Editing of this article by new or unregistered users is currently disabled until September 11." Interesting date. I wonder why they would put that on there. But it's no longer on there now since it's been made public. So I thought that was rather curious.
It's talking about a certain date that the Wikipedia page can be edited, right? Well, that's just 2 days away. And I don't know how many of you guys follow Monograph, but he put out a video probably a week or two ago, talking about a certain speech that Biden gave where he made a certain hand gesture that had been cancel cultured in the previous administration, but apparently is okay for him to do or show. But what he correlated that to and deciphered that to mean that specific date that was on that Wikipedia page. Like this year will be the new, 11th, the month of, September. So we'll see. And I'm sure most of you guys have seen Biden's little speech the other day with the little red background and the paid military personnel in the background and whatnot. But I haven't seen this on YouTube yet, and I don't think my wife has either. But check this picture out. She did a side-by-side from V for Vendetta and the stage setup that Biden gave a speech on. Look at this. Now I want to play a little portion of his video, of his speech, I screen recorded.
Are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise. So tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face, about the power we have in our own hands to meet these threats, and about the incredible future that lies in front of us if only we choose it. We must never forget, we the people are the true heirs of the American experiment that began more than 2 centuries ago. We, the people, have burning inside of each of us the flame of liberty that was lit here at Independence Hall. A flame that lit our way through abolition, the Civil War, suffrage, the Great Depression, world wars, civil rights. That sacred flame still burns. Now in our time, as we build an America that is more prosperous, free, and just. That is the work of my presidency, a mission I believe in with my whole soul. But first, we must be honest with each other and with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans.
It does sound like there's a declaration being made of a conflict, of a certain type of conflict. But it sounds like a declaration made, during his speech in regards to the American people who don't see eye to eye with the communitarianism, the new communitarianism. And I did a video about that on my channel, on this channel actually, because my other channel have a strike now from a video I did about the Nova, the thing about the jab that's called Nova. But anyway, I got a strike for that, so I can't post for a week there. So I'm putting it on this channel, but as soon as I can, I'll put this on that channel as well for those of you who have come here from that channel and vice versa. So if you don't all get a notification, hopefully when I can post that channel you will. But I thought that was pretty crazy, man. Like, these people are so emboldened and brazen now with their speech straight to our faces, and it's just wild, man. But I have an article I want to read, because my wife and I was just kind of searching through some things yesterday, and this article pops up. And let me read it to you. So this is from Logical Hierarchy. I will put the link in the description. Biblical Studies, Non-Denominational, with a Focus on Mathematics and Logic by Greg Glazer. Prince William, the little horn described in Daniel and Revelation. Introduction. The media has shown us that Prince William is beloved throughout the world, especially for his diplomacy and charity work. It is possible we've been propagandized. As portrayed in the media, he demonstrates the attributes of intelligence, clean living, service, and bravery. The purpose of this research article is not to suggest William is a bad person or guilty of any crime whatsoever. To the contrary, William's public life appears to be scripted by powers that be larger than him, and so William has been set up for guilt by association. This precedent is all the more reason to pray for William's salvation and comfort. Now, with that said, William and or Wales definitely appears to match the characteristics of the little horn described in the Bible. An example of a quote posted online from a fan of William. William is beloved of God, with the blood of Christ having been shed for him, and to date has shown considerable courage as a Coast Guard, saving people's lives, and an ambassador for his nation. My wife and I were at the royal wedding in 2011, and it was an amazing day with a wonderful spirit about it. There were 1 million people in a fairly small area of London, and yet there were no problems, no jostling or shoving, but people were being patient and helping each other left and right. Even the Kofi minister, that's funny, Kofefe, anybody? Minister relayed a wonderful message about Christ and the church, and the whole day had that spirit about it. A picture of Christ and his bride, much more than any works of darkness. And you see how he's got his little picture there, kind of the same Prince of Peace and the Prince of Wales. A picture of propaganda is worth 1,000 words. And we get down to some of these other fellas. William, an unelected world leader. The world loves the guy. Suspicious? Prince William of Wales is presently beloved and revered throughout the world. He and or Wales is a fine candidate to be the little horn described in Revelation and Daniel. Here's the evidence. In Daniel 8:23, the little horn is referred to as a ruler, king, or sovereign. See also Daniel 9:27 and Daniel 11:28 through 45, suggesting the false Messiah will be a ruler. In Revelation 13, the text uses the word diadem, or jewel, to imply he is also royalty. William's royal crest contains all the animals from Daniel's vision of the 4 found creatures, lion, bear, leopard, and dragon, Daniel 7:3 through 7, Revelation 13:2. And the living being I saw being the image of a leopard, and his feet as of a bear, and his mouth as of a lion's, and the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great kingdom. In this picture right here, it says William's nickname in the Royal Navy is the Dragon. And this is a statue. As you can see, it's striped, not so much as a leopard, but definitely curious. The red dragon is the national symbol of Wales. For Prince William of Wales, his symbol is this red dragon. Revelation 13:2, and the dragon gives to it his power and his throne and great authority. William's crest has a lion's head with a leopard's body, bare feet, and a red dragon. There is also a unicorn on William's crest with eyes like a man and with its tongue sticking out that correlates to the little horn of Daniel 7:8. Another little horn ascends between them, in front of whom 3 of the first horns uproot. And behold, in this horn, eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth uttering greatly. The design around the unicorn's neck is called the eldest son label, and has been described as 3 parallel horns, which are, in a manner of speaking, plucked out by the roots, i.e. turned upside down. And here's his crest. You got Prince William's coat of arms on the left and Prince Charles' coat of arms on the right. And as you can see, curiously, for whatever reason, there is a collar
or a crown around the neck of the unicorn with a chain going down into the grass. I found that quite curious. And I'll link this in the description so you can go check this out. Like Prince Charles' crest, you can see the red dragon down at the bottom right, and then the black prince down on the bottom left that looks like 3 serpents. But anyway, as for the red dragon, the symbol of Wales, William's hometown, is the dragon, and the symbol of London is the dragon. Another noteworthy fact is that Prince William's nickname in the Royal Navy is Dragon. The layout of the crest on Charles' coat reads, "I serve the Red Dragon," as it says, "Ich dien," meaning I serve in German, or your man in Welsh, immediately beneath a picture of the red dragon. Indeed, the unicorn, little horn, is chained to the image of the red dragon. The occult connections of his royal family has been extensively documented. At age 25, Prince William became the 1,000th member of Britain's most exclusive secret society, the Order of the Garter, parts of which are useful to the Military Order of Malta, Committee of 300, and Freemasonry. William's dad, Charles, is a 33rd degree Mason, which provides the highest level of occult opportunity. Charles appears to have been grooming William for the occult life. His mother may have had a different plan of sorts. Here is a non-controversial quote from the late Princess Diana. "I believe Wills can rebuild Camelot, and I will be his Merlin. We will return to the chivalry, pageantry, and glory of King Arthur's court. William will remake the monarchy by showing love, leadership, and compassion." And what's the AC come in the name of? Love. And for details on the British occult practices, visit Cainite, because they are the sons of Cain.net. Groomed for the occult life since birth, William joined Britain's most exclusive secret society. And that's the little chain emblem around his neck over there. Let's see. Investiture of Prince Charles, televised worldwide in July 1st, 1969. Standing up from her dragon-adorned throne, Queen Elizabeth gives Charles regalia with the dragon featured on the rod, ring, and sword. Prince Charles then says, "I, Charles, Prince of Wales, do become your liege man of life and limb, and of earthly worship, and faith and truth I will bear unto you to live and die against all manner of folks." If William, Wales, is the little horn, then he is part of the beast of the sea. The lion on his coat of arms has a seashell on the collar. Also, William was in the Royal Navy. The helicopter he flew was called the Sea King, and the UK is an island nation. His nickname in the Royal Navy was the Dragon. Check this out. So you have, the Baphomet there with the 5-pointed star, and then next to it is the Goat of Mendes, which they use on their patch for their squadron of the Royal Air Force. And down here on the left-hand side, Prince William's wearing a patch. Can't really read what all it says. It's 60-something son, 115, William Wales. So there's something behind the 115 and the 511 from a gematria standpoint, and I can't exactly get into that right now, but you can do some digging on that on your own. Let's see, you got the Royal Arms of England, Rothschild coat of arms, which is the same lion, and the unicorn, Trinity Broadcasting Network, crest of Knights Templar, London coat of arms, and the Lion of Judah. How'd they throw that in there? The British monarchy emerged directly out of the same Roman Empire that crucified the Messiah. This happened when Britain became a Roman colony in approximately 55 BC, although warring with Rome continued well into the 2nd century. The name Britain is derived from Berith Ain, which means covenant land, and British means covenant man. The British Empire eventually exceeded even the Roman Empire in size, which is the reason for the infamous colonialism expression, "The sun never sets on the British Empire." So Britain is basically Rome, is what they're saying. There is also some interesting pseudo-legal evidence that the two empires are actually the same empire, such that London is still a Roman city and its crown is superior to the crown of Great Britain. It has also been said that the British monarchy has been subservient to the Catholic Church since the Treaty of Verona in 1213, and see the Magna Carta, the 1215 Magna Carta English translation by Xavier Hildegard. The operative provision in the Magna Carta is Section 13, and the City of London shall have all its ancient liberties and free customs by land as well as by water. And there's your two dragons for the City of London. That's curious. I'm not a Latin speaker, but dirige, kind of like, what's it called? Demiurge almost, kind of, sort of. But anyway, the dragon is the official symbol of the sovereign city of London. The Queen still ceremonially submits to London, the Roman colony, because Magna Carta Section 13. Moreover, modern-day Israel emerged out of Britain when the British military won Israel around 1917 and then turned it over to Jewish authorities in 1948. How many of you guys knew that? And then it gives all the supporting documentation. Just as Rome slowly conquered and thereby created a new Britain, also Britain slowly conquered and created a new Israel. Curious. The primary financial agent and secular control center for the Vatican is the City of London, which is also the Rothschilds' banking epicenter. The Rothschilds have been the official bankers for the Catholic Church since 1823, but the breadth of evil produced by the unholy alliance between the Vatican and Britain is well documented. William's mentor has been David Manning. William especially has Rothschild connections through Diana's side. Oh, Diana was a Rothschild. Follow the money. Prince Philip and Evelyn Rothschild recently established an interfaith declaration for the creation of one world religion. And over here on the top right, there's a pyramid with the Rothschilds on top. Schiff underneath that, like Adam Schiff. Rockefeller, Warburg, Rockefeller, Morgan, Harriman, Lazard Brothers, Goldman Sachs, Brown Brothers, J. Henry Schroeder Banking Company, and Lehman Brothers. And then under this caption of Charles and the Rothschild, Charles, a 33rd degree Mason, receiving wisdom from Lord Evelyn Rothschild. Arguably, William's name is blasphemous. Revelation 13:1, Revelation 17:3. Will means self or self-determinism, and I am is one of the names of the Creator. The name William means conqueror, which is what the first horse of Revelation does. Compare John 16:33, where the Messiah is said to have conquered the world. William's full name is William Arthur Philip Lewis Windsor. Philip means horse lover, which may correlate to the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Lewis means famous warrior. William is in the military and has not really been shy about his ambition to fight. Arthur means bear, stone, or eagle, all of which imply the typology of the fierce warrior King Arthur, the once and future king. So here's where we get into some more interesting stuff. Windsor means riverbank with a winch, which is relevant to the living beast of the sea connection from Revelation 13. King of the United Kingdom sounds similar to King of Kings, which is one of the Messiah's titles. From 1030 BC to 931 BC, under both King David and King Solomon, Israel was referred to as the United Kingdom of Israel and Judah. William and family claim to be descendants from the line of King David. The Bible says the Messiah comes from the line of King David. And there's all your supporting scripture for that. Under King David, Israel was called the United Kingdom of Israel and Judah. William's family rules over the present-day United Kingdom, and they claim to be blood relatives of King David. On June 2nd, 1953, with the Knights of the Garter carrying the canopy over her head, Elizabeth II was anointed and crowned as Queen of thy people Israel. The monarchy claims the throne, and the throne room in England is the actual throne of King David. On the British coat of arms, under the shield, is a motto, Dieu et mon droit, if I pronounced that correctly, meaning God and my right. Their attempt to refer to a birthright to the throne. Indeed, the monarchy's coronation ceremony revolves around a chair they claim has the stone of Scone, or the stone of destiny, fitted into it. That would be the same stone Jacob used as a pillow on the night he dreamed of the ladder into heaven with angels ascending and descending. And this right here is a statuette of Prince Charles, the winged god. This bronze model was presented by the mayor of a Brazilian town, calling Charles a savior of the world. This bottom right is the picture of the stone. And also that is the throne that is said to be King David's throne, which is adorned with dragons. Why is that? Is their self-proclaimed royals' coronation and investiture ceremonies are any guide, it bears mentioning that on July 1st, 1969, standing up from her dragon-adorned throne, Queen Elizabeth gave Charles regalia with a dragon featured on the rod, ring, and sword. Charles, they say, I, Charles, Prince of Wales, do become your liege man of life and limb, and of earthly worship and faith and truth, and I will bear unto you to live and die against all manner of folks. Read all about it in the popular book by Tim Cohen. Remember Stormy Daniels and the attorney Cohen, at pages 198 to 204. Side note for researchers, an often misquoted section of this book claims the Queen said, "This dragon gives you your power, your throne, and your authority." That's an internet rumor, and Cohen didn't write that. I never found such a quote after a long search of books and videos. William was born at St. Mary's Hospital in the UK. The comparison is that Messiah's mother was named Mary. Prince William was born on the summer solstice, June 21st, 1982. The occult have tried to hijack the significance of this day for dark purposes. Perhaps it's also notable that the birth date would give William the astrological sign of Gemini, same as Trump, which mystics and many others associate with being two-faced or a twin. In 1996, Prince William voluntarily accepted an RFID tracking chip in his right hand. Coincidentally, the Bible says the mark of the beast is given in the right hand of the forehead. And this is supposed to be a X-ray of said RFID chip in 1996. Look at this horn on Holyhead Island, the place where Prince William had his primary residence for years while working as a helicopter pilot. Now this one, I didn't quite see what they were talking about as far as a little horn, so I'll just cruise right past that. And check that out. The coin on the left kind of looks like the T-Man, right? But that is Alexander the Great, wearing elephant hat and depicted with ram's horns. Compared coin minted for Julius Caesar on the right, showing his favorite animal, the elephant, with protruding horn. Let's see, we'll get past all these coins. William's brother is named Harry, which reminds of the power struggle between Esau, meaning Harry, and Jacob, meaning he who supplants. Remember I said about Jacob and Esau, and Jacob means the supplanter? Was that because he was supplanting God's real chosen people? Just asking a question, not asserting it as truth. William would be Jacob, who is the usurper, supplanter, a substitute. The history of Jacob/Israel has much to offer for its symbolism and meaning. It is often said that Antiochus Epiphanes, who loved art, foreshadows the Antichrist. Prince William majored in art in college at St. Andrews. Diana referred to William as the future King Arthur, who would usher in Camelot. Written on Arthur's tomb is Hic Jacet Arthurus Rex Quandam Rex Cur Futuris, which says, "Here lies Arthur, the once and future king." Kind of like talking about I think it was Revelation, or it might have been Daniel, where it says, the Antichrist which was and now isn't, but yet, is or will be, something to that effect. According to some sources, Diana's death occurred in the same place as an ancient goddess Diana sacrifice location. The location of the Pont de Alma tunnel as a sacred site dedicated to the moon goddess Diana. Some other circumstances of the death suggest occult connections. Crashing into the 13th pillar of the tunnel, the event occurred on August 31st. Festival day for goddess Diana was August 13th. Like the 1-3 and the 3-1 reversed. In the world today, there's a huge movement called British Israelism, which claims the lost tribes of Israel are scattered throughout the globe and primarily located in modern-day Europe, America, Africa, and so forth. Unfortunately, researchers of these historical questions often affiliate with harmful white supremacist and black supremacist movements and cults. Some people actually believe this stuff. They drink from that Roman Holy Grail through their chosen belief system. So I'm gonna cut it off right there. You can go and read this. It's still pretty interesting. Well, let me read this part. Take it all together, and William Wales sure looks suspicious, but hey, these things are complex and we can still keep an open mind. I suppose it's possible William is only foreshadowing the real Antichrist, or perhaps just being set up to look like the Antichrist as part of Satan's great multi-layered deception. In any case, followers of the Messiah should pray for our enemies and return good for evil. Perhaps William's lonely fate is prophesied in Daniel 11:45, and he plants the tents of his pavilion between the seas and the holy mountain of splendor, and he comes to his end and no one helps him. This is all the more reason to pray for William's salvation and comfort. And it shows some other cult connections with 666 between Rome and the Vatican, and also the castle that they live in. Let's see. Okay, on July 1st, 1969, standing up from her dragon-adorned throne, I read all that. Whenever Charles takes the throne or dies this generation, William is scheduled to become the head prince, king of Wales, and those same words of earthly worship will be his to utter before the dragon-adorned throne. Continuing, excerpt from William 2015 by Grace Powers. Until recently, the Stone of Jacob was stored beneath the Queen's throne chair and was included in her 1953 coronation ceremony. Jacob is the Hebrew patriarch whose name was changed to Israel, Israel, like Isis, Ra, and Elyon. Queen Elizabeth II was crowned at her coronation ceremony on top of a platform with ascending steps on all sides that duplicate an Egyptian step pyramid. The British monarch's crown has 12 colored stones at the base, each representing the 12 tribes of Israel. These stones are identical to the 12 colored stones worn on the breastplate of Hebrew high priests in ancient Israel. The Union Jack flag represents the reunion of the 12 Hebrew tribes of Jacob/Jack in the British Isles after they were forced to disperse from Israel. The Union Jack is red, white, and blue. Interesting. The same colors as the 3 crowns of Egypt. Also interesting. The symbols within the British coat of arms reveal Britain's Hebrew origin. According to the Bible, the harp symbolizes the Hebrew King David. The biblical lion and unicorn holding up the shield symbolize the nation of Israel. The motto, Dieu et mon droit, means God and my right, indicating the divine right of the British monarch to an eternal throne. The royal scepter originates in ancient Egypt. It was carried by the Egyptian god Amen, or Amen, kind of like what they have brainwashed us into saying at the end of every prayer. So your prayers don't go to the Most High, the Creator, the Father. It goes to this God, Amen, or Amen. And by Egyptian pharaohs who called themselves the Son of God, or the Son of Ammon. The royal scepter is carried by Queen Elizabeth II and contains the world's largest cut diamond called the Star of Africa, Egypt in parentheses. The symbol of the bee can be found within the monarch's royal wardrobe. In ancient Egypt, bees were a symbol of royalty and the symbol of Egypt. Dressed in royal attire, the queen carries a tassel flail or whip, which is partially hidden under her arm. The punishing flail or whip also originates with the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. During the Queen's coronation ceremony in 1953, she turned to face the four corners of the globe, north, south, east, and west. The orb carried by the Queen represents the globe over which the monarch rules. The headdress, presently worn by judges and the Queen's high-ranking officials, originate in ancient Egypt. The hymn, Zadok the Priest, written by Handel, was performed at the Queen's coronation ceremony in 1953. Zadok the priest was the biblical priest who anointed the Hebrew King Solomon while the people cried, "God save King Solomon, may the king live forever." Today, the rendition is, "God save Queen Elizabeth, may the queen live forever." The Queen's coronation gifts of a rod, bracelets, and a ring are a reenactment of the Bible story of the Hebrew ancestors of Jesus Christ named Judah and Tamar, whom she is a descendant of. So Queen Elizabeth is claiming descendancy through the tribe of Judah and Tamar. That's pretty interesting as well. Incest was practiced by ancient Egyptian royalty. Mothers married sons, brothers married sisters to keep the power and money all in the family. Like their Egyptian royal ancestors, the British monarchy also practiced incestuous inbreeding. The Pope's headdress is strikingly similar to the headdress of the Egyptian god Ammon. His bent cross resembles the scepter of Ammon. Royal jubilees originate in ancient Egypt. Egyptian pharaohs celebrate their jubilees after 30 years of rule. In the same tradition, Queen Elizabeth II celebrates her silver and golden jubilees. I thought the Israelites were the Jews, the only one that had jubilees, but anyway. Like the Egyptian pharaohs, British monarchs wear signet rings, which over the millennia have been passed down from their Hebrew ancestors. Pleated kilts with aprons, like those worn by Prince Charles, originate with the Egyptian pharaohs. Kind of like the free, mason workers, they wear those same things. The structure of government in ancient Egypt was a step pyramid model with the Grand Vizier and priesthood one step below the pharaoh. Today's monarch reigns with a Grand Vizier. His name is Rothschild. The corpses of deceased pharaohs were preserved and entombed beneath their pyramid temples. The corpses of 19 deceased British monarchs are also preserved in marble tomb slabs beneath the modern-day temple called Westminster Abbey. The ancient pharaohs of Egypt advertised their power with their images on coins in temples and on stone monuments. The power of Queen Elizabeth II is advertised worldwide with her image printed on more coins and stamps than any other head of state in history. In 2003, the British Mint printed legal tender gold coins called the One True Ring and the Ring of Power. Queen Elizabeth II appears on one side of the coin. On the flip side of this coin is the ring from The Lord of the Rings. These legal tender coins printed by the British Mint raise the question, who is the real Lord of the Rings? The inscription on the ring reads, "One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness of their ignorance bind them." Kind of makes you wonder if that movie The Ring, or the Lord of the Rings movies, trilogy or whatever, has some basis in fact. The covenant that the biblical God gave to Abraham was a promise to make his name great and to make for him a great nation. Today, Great Britain is the only nation named great. That's interesting as well, considering the last couple of videos I've made kind of speculating on how these imposters have made their way into the hierarchy of Christianity, I guess you could say. And this kind of, even though this guy's a defender of the Bible, seems to me that he has found evidence that kind of supports what I just started making videos about. My last 2 or 3 videos. I think it's the last 2. But anyway, what about the Vatican? It seems logical that the Pope, specifically his office over the centuries, will be part of the beast of the land in Revelation 13. By contrast, the beast of the sea is different. The body of that beast is the Roman masses, you and me, as we trample the world with military and consumerism, etc. It's all service to the man-god Caesar, ultimately, which traces a direct lineage to the crown of England. The British royalty are the only institution in the world today that openly claim earthly worship, along with the throne of Israel, and the title of Roman Caesar Imperator, which you can read right on their own coins this very moment in the United Kingdom. Click here from a research paper that goes in embarrassing amounts of detail to track the history here from Egyptian Pharaoh to Roman Caesar to British King, a direct line of evidence. And then everyone knows this: the Trinity globalist control, religions the Vatican, finance the City of London, and military is Washington, D.C. There was one other thing I wanted to get to in here. Let's see. Research it yourself. The cross marks an entire worldwide history of war and torture. In opposition to Yahushua's teachings, Nazi Germany provided us a recent and extreme example of how the cross is used to motivate people to kill Jews. So this guy is obviously a supporter of those, but with hidden history, rewritten history and all that, who knows? Where was the other one? Let's see. But what about Islam? Many Christians have suggested the Antichrist will be a Muslim, and many today are considering men like Recep Erdogan as candidates. Personally, I think Islam is just a tool that doesn't realize it's a tool. The powers that be are allowing and empowering Islam to be the grossly ugly enemy it is, in order to justify eventually unleashing the West's latest arsenal of weapons, i.e. sonic weapons, cyber attacks, global governance, biometric ID. So I think the chances of Turkey, etc., or Jihad Islam winning a war against the military-industrial complex are somewhere between 0% and negative 1,000,000%. Fearing Islam is a real threat is like fearing the Saruman is going to win in the Lord of the Rings 2. It's not even the last battle, and the villain is teamed up with orcs. Trust me, Saruman is going to lose. Seriously, even if the lights go out, worldwide EMP attacks and nuclear meltdown occurs, and Western military-industrial complex has surely run countless mock scenarios where they retain power and control from their deep underground military bases, stocked with clean water, abundant energy and electricity, and more technology than the general public knows. The real loser of this upcoming televised holy war between Christianity and Islam will be liberty and the environment. All of this is just worldly speculation and theory, though, as things will probably get started apocalyptic pretty soon here. In the Bible, a recurring pattern is that the Creator promises something to a person or group, i.e. Israel, and then Israel eventually transgresses sins in some major way without repenting, at which point Israel's enemies are allowed to strengthen and unleash terror until the Creator saves a remnant of Israel for the next round. Might that same pattern be happening today? In one school of thought, Israel's enemies today are Semitic. They're everywhere, in Islam and consumerism and cookie-cutter Christianity and the nation of Israel, Britain, Iran, Russia, and the military-industrial complex, and your grandma's spice cake and Freemasonry at the UN, etc. Anyway, so let's to recap, this little horn is unique in where he comes from and who he is. Skull carries the name of blasphemy. Revelation 13:1. Image of a leopard, feet of a bear, mouth of lions, and the dragon gives him his power and a throne and sultanship. Receives a sword to the head, but the wound is healed and he comes back to life. Receives his power and throne from the dragon for 42 months to blaspheme Jehovah. And then, after that, he slaughters the holy and receives power over all tribes and nations and tongues and inhabitants of the earth whose names are not scribed in the scroll of life. And It gives the same coat of arms again. And I'm not sure what this guy's quoting, but it's worded quite strange. I haven't read a translation quite like this. Let's see. But to highlight another example, note the message to the assembly of Smyrna in the book of Revelation. So says the first and the last, he who was dead and lives. I know your trial and your poverty, but you are rich, and the reproach from those who say of themselves Judeans or Jews, when they are not Judeans or Jews, but the assembly of Satan. What if Prince William were a usurper? First one, Yeshua. Compare William's title, Princeps, which means literally first one. Crown gives to Yeshua's faithful who conquer. Compare William, who wears the British crown and whose name means conqueror. Note the rich versus poor comparison in Revelation 2:9. Obviously, William is rich on this earth, while the blessed of Smyrna are poor, but Yeshua is calculated to flip that paradigm in the future. Note that the blessed of Smyrna are thrown in prison, which is a power that a sovereign like William has. Under British law, he can even do so for people who blaspheme his crown. Even to this day, the crown keeps tight controls on the British media. He who was dead and lives, Yeshua. Compare the possibility of William fulfilling the prophecy of the beast in Revelation 13:3, dying and coming back to life. Will William become the seventh Caesar to rule Jerusalem? The sixth was Nero before the Jerusalem fell to the civil war in 68 AD, at which point all legal authority was dead or exiled, and the city was in control of the lawless. Also, on the metaphysical level, the British Crown likes to remind its subjects that it reigns today but does not rule, such that it may choose to rule again in the future. Judean equals Yeshua. Compare William, who claims to be Judean through the British-Israeli propaganda campaign, while at the same time William openly participates in occult practices and rituals. Just like Julius Caesar, who allowed, after foreign wars, the erection of a statue of himself during his own lifetime with the inscription Dio Invicta, unvanquished God, Prince Charles welcomed this statuette of himself as a winged god in Brazil. Showed that earlier. Let's see. As the official Prince of Wales, Charles said on public television that the British crown is worthy of earthly worship. I watched the broadcast on YouTube to confirm, yes, he actually said those words, of earthly worship. Do any of us have any intention on worshiping these people? Absolutely not. Do we see history potentially repeating itself? This sort of reciprocal family idolatry is exactly what happened between Caesar Augustus towards Julius Caesar during the imperial cult. First Augustus worshipped Julius, and then he made everyone else do it. Back in those days, the worship started small, with little ceremonies and statues, and then it grew outrageous. The Roman imperial cult started with simple statues and speeches praising Julius Caesar, and then it grew into man-god temples after Julius Caesar's death, because his adopted son Octavian and his successors were fond of self-indulgent blasphemies. The British royals are already following these Roman traditions, i.e. Roman titles for themselves, Roman canon law in their countries, Romanesque ceremonies where they claim to be of earthly worship. Let's see. Accordingly, will anything stop Prince Charles' son William from following these same traditions that already claim the British crown is effective king in Jerusalem? Remember, these are just their claims. I am not saying these claims are important to anything outside this world or even worthy of any Christian study, just that folks might want to be aware the British royals are both historically and currently asserting claim to the throne of Israel. And this shows like a little family tree, how it comes down all the way through to Queen Elizabeth. So basically it's saying the same thing that I've been saying over the last couple of videos on my other channel, Biblical Truther 81, that people aren't in agreement with, most of which are, of the faith, being Christians and whatnot, seems to have been turned into the most hate-spewing people in the country at this time. But it is what it is. People are going to be how they are, they're going to follow their,
just like the Bible said in the Exodus times that Israel didn't want a God king, they wanted a earthly king. So it's kind of still in the hearts of people nowadays where they just want an earthly king. So they have one in the T-Man. But what I want to bring up about this article is I heard something yesterday. My wife told me she heard from another guy on a video who had mentioned that in 3 years Prince William will be the Prince of Jerusalem. So we was kind of trying to look in to see how that would even be possible. But as you can see in that article, they do have direct ties to that, state. And this is the article, Christians United for Israel, which is crazy. For Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. Isaiah 62:1. Anyway, this is how Prince William's family has a connection to Jerusalem. This article has been updated since first published on this website in December 2016. Prince William will become the first member of the UK royal family to make an official visit to Israel. Other British royals have made a small number of private visits, but did you know that William has a direct family connection to Jerusalem? On the Mount of Olives, above the Garden of Gethsemane, lies the picturesque Church of St. Mary Magdalene. There, Princess Alice of Battenberg, the paternal grandmother of Prince Charles, is buried. Princess Alice was an extraordinary woman. She was the great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria, the mother of Prince Philip, the Queen's husband, and was born at Windsor Castle in 1885. But I'm going to go on down. Let's see. During World War II, she lived in Athens and had sons-in-law who were fighting on the German side while her own son was in the British Royal Navy fighting the Nazis, playing both sides much. During the Nazi occupation of Athens, the Germans assumed that she was pro-German, and on visiting her, a general asked, "Is there anything I can do for you?" She replied, "You can take your troops out of my country." In 1943, Athens was home to around 75,000 Jews. Of these, around 60,000 were deported to Nazi concentration camps where all but 2,000 died. During this period, Princess Alice hid Jewish widow Rachel Cohen and 2 of her 5 children in her home. Rachel's husband, Hamaki Cohen, had aided King George I of Greece in 1913. In return, King George offered him any service he could perform. I don't know why they wrote it like that. Should Cohen ever need it. Cohen's son remembered this during the Nazi threat and appealed to Princess Alice. She honored the promise and saved the Cohen family. I had mentioned Cohen. Does that sound familiar? And a Stormy Daniels attorney, or Trump's attorney for the Stormy Daniels mess. So, just wanted to point that out also. This article came up yesterday as well from the Jerusalem Post, which the headline is kind of, I don't know if it's like a hidden meaning that this is really going to happen, or they were just saying for the fact that, Prince William will be in line for kingship after Philip if he successfully becomes king and whatnot. But also, there was a charter or a declaration in 1871 in the United States that separated, the District of Columbia from the United States and made it into a corporation, a governing body of the United States, right? Well, apparently, and I'm going to have to do a little more research, but apparently that charter or declaration or whatever you want to call it ends with the death of this queen. So if that is the case, being that we went back to a British colony, very hush-hush in this 1871 declaration or whatever it was, we have been under the crown ever since. And crazy enough, if this charter goes away with her death, You remember the quote Prince Philip said, where, if he died, he would like to come back as the most, the world's deadliest virus to take care, 90% of the population and of useless eaters and whatnot. So if this man has this sentiment of, basically depopulating the world as we know it, why would his kingship be any different, especially if we're still under the British Crown? We have a British Crown territory to our north. We have a leftist-controlled state to our south, country, if you want to call it that, whatever. And it has been rumored since 2017 that they have been building vehicles that are armed, armored, down there with big old turrets on the top, if you know what I'm saying, that shoot gigantic projectiles. They ride on tracks, trying to be a little inconspicuous with my talk, but that was all rumored and claimed to be a theory of the conspiracy type. But if it were true, we are already surrounded, north, south, east, and west, because you got to remember the cargo ships, that are just chilling out in the ocean, to our east and west. But we have a reputable kingdom, I guess you could call it, or part of the UK, the England, or whatever, United Kingdom under the crown up north. And then they've pretty much replaced all the controllers or presidents, if you will, to the south of us. So, I'm not saying anything will happen on that day, that 11th day, but it's 2 days away. And I thought this was pretty interesting that all these things kind of come together at one time. So I felt like I needed to tell you guys, show you guys this, because it very well could be something more. And the fact that the Simpsons have been so on point over the last, 23, 24 years they've been on the air, for Homer to have said that in that episode, as I said in reading that, I think it's a post-AC type scenario, or it could be a female president that is of the totalitarian type, just as Lisa said her kids were blaming her to be. So we'll see, man. Just the fact that he said that they brought back, or this person brought back beheading in a big way. Well, if he was to become the prince or king of the sand desert over there, then I would say the no-hide laws are right around the corner, and the main tool of depopping everything and everyone is by way of, that little tool, the medieval tool, that, has the big slanted blade that they raise up and you laying down, and they got a basket to catch, your head, one of those things. That is the way they are going to separate the saints from the wicked. So I just thought this was pretty interesting, man. I just wanted to put this out there for you guys to see some of the dots being connected, and the fact that you think these last couple of years have been fast moving, in that the plan of the controllers have been unfolding just as they want them to, or just as it wants them to, whatever the case may be. The next probably 2 to 3 years is going to be that much worse. And I'm sure you know about what Illinois, one of the state troopers or sheriffs or whatever up there has put out about the change to the laws of incarceration and the crimes that you can be incarcerated from as of January 1st, 2023, which basically gives full reign to the most violent of criminals to get away with murder. Because if you write a man a ticket for second-degree murder, you really think he's going to show up for court? You don't have no threat of a bounty hunter coming after him. Same thing with aggravated battery, aggravated fleeing, and all the other things. Here, I'll show you the list.
Illinois non-detainable offenses beginning January 1st, 2023. Aggravated battery, aggravated DUI, aggravated fleeing, arson, burglary, drug-induced homicide, intimidation, kidnapping, robbery, second-degree murder, threatening a public official.
Yeah, that's not your run-of-the-mill everyday crimes. So if they're just going to write people tickets, because if you take them to jail and just release them with no bond, you might as well just give them a ticket and save your gas and your paperwork and all that, right? Just write them a ticket and let them go about their way. So for this to even be considered, much less passed into law, is insane. Like, you want to talk about Sodom and Gomorrah as we've been told it was, and Babylon and all these other places, Nineveh and whatnot. Do you guys realize after January 1st, these people who are more than willing to do these crimes against innocent people are gonna just run crazy, run amok? With no threat of jail, I can get a ticket for second-degree murder. Are you serious? Yeah. It's called The Purge election year. Wasn't that the movie? Where it was Make America Great Again? Oh yeah, they're gonna make it great. Just not on the good side of the spectrum. It's gonna be great evil in this land, just like I was talking about in the last video or two about the dark MAGA thing and the Christians that are just begging for. Oh, speaking of, my wife sent me this earlier. Check this out.
And this is from Twitter. Donald Trump names his favorite Bible verse. The Bible verse that really resonates with Donald Trump is an eye for an eye. Let's see. In a radio interview on WHAM 1180 AM, host Bob Lonsberry asked the GOP presidential frontrunner if there was a favorite Bible verse or story that has informed his thinking or his character throughout his life. Quote by Trump: "Well, I think many. I mean, when we get into the Bible, I think many, so many. And some people, look, an eye for an eye. You can almost say that," Trump said. "That's not a particularly nice thing, but you know, if you look at what's happening to our country, I mean, when you see what's going on with our country, how people are taking advantage of us and how they scoff at us and laugh at us, and they laugh at our face, and they're taking our jobs, they're taking our money, they're taking the health of our country, and we have to be very firm and have to be very strong, and we can learn a lot from the Bible. That I can tell you." End quote.
Yeah, that's kind of like going back to the old law, as if Jesus Christ didn't exist, didn't come and have his teachings that are completely contrary, because he actually called that one out specifically. And then Trump wants to get up there talking about how he's the second, famous person in the world next to Jesus Christ. Well, my friend, it seems as though you have stepped on Jesus' toes and the teachings that he brought to us. Because as it's written, Jesus says, as you have heard, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I say, if somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other. He's basically bringing Christianity back under the old law, which is a barbaric, what would you say, arcane way of living. So yeah, what do you think about him now? Because if you still support the man, and he's putting this out there at this point in time, and these laws are going to go into effect, January 1st, an eye for an eye. Well, when these people who are, more than willing criminals to commit those types of crimes, when they start committing those crimes, and these people have it in their mind, an eye for an eye, it's going to get bad, real bloody. You know what I'm saying? Real bloody. So I hope you are prepared. Sorry to burst your bubble for all you rapture believers, but that's not happening, man. It's not happening. So I'll leave you guys with that, man. I know that was a lot. And I will see you on the next one. I love you guys.
Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints,